Hello, everyone. This is Alexis Cohen. Welcome to Paint, Pray, Flow, a journey into creative freedom through divine love, peace, and prosperity. And today we have the lovely Shelley Klammer. Shelley is an online depth-oriented therapist practicing worldwide, and she supports creative women to heal unfinished emotional business from the past in a way that is strength-focused and collaborative. Shelley is also an educator with the International Expressive Arts Therapy Association, and she supports women to authentically self-express through spontaneous art and writing practices as a way to anchor self-safety, self-confidence, and self-love. Shelley, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Alexis. So lovely to be here in your studio with you today, virtually.
Yes, our virtual studio. Yeah, and I'm so excited about today because we're really going to dive in and, just to kick it off, because this always happens, you guys, whenever we connect first, like we start to have this juicy conversation and we have to hit record. So yeah, I'm just going to jump in. So first and foremost, Shelley, how would you describe your relationship with spirit in relation to your creative process? Like, how does spirit play in to your creative process?
Well, I think for me, and how I work with other people as well, is I do the work around what's in the way of spirit. So when you were saying that I support women to heal their unfinished business from the past, my spiritual mentor would call it interruptions in light, where we've experienced trauma or where we're really embedded in our conditioning from the past, the social conditioning, religious conditioning, familial conditioning, ancestral conditioning. So I tend to really laser focus in that area around spending time with what feels off, with what feels out of rhythm, what feels sort of incongruent to our true self, and just really spending loving time with those spaces and helping them to heal so that I can support other people to access their intuition in a much deeper way, because we can get confused, as to what is our intuition and what is our past and what is our conditioning or what is our ancestry. So just working with those stuck places, those interruptions in light, and those painful places, that's really where I do my deep best work, because that's the work I've had to do on myself.
Ditto. Yeah. As you're sharing that, I'm thinking about something that happened this week where I've been working on this project, and it's like, it just wasn't clicking. And I was like, weeks and weeks, I'm like, what is this? And I noticed this pattern, and I'd love for you to speak into this, because I know that I'm not alone in this, where I was getting to this place where it's like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can't I just like make this work? And in the moment where I finally admitted, oh, it's just out of alignment, like I get to actually let go of doing it that way. And it's exactly what you're saying. Once I did that, it was like the channel opened and it became easy and fluid. So can you speak into that place? Because I know, like, for you who's watching this, like, this might be a thing for you where it's like, we start to believe, like, is there something wrong with me? Like, what do I need to do to like get myself into alignment to make this work?
Beautiful, beautiful question. Yes. So it's such a good description what you're saying around something feels off, something feels out of alignment. I often think it's like it's marching to the beat of its own drum, like it's like a part, like a personality part that wants to go this way and we want to go this way, but there's something that might need some attention, might need to have some time in loving acceptance, that just might need to be investigated in order to bring all the working parts into the whole. And I think that we all have disparate parts, places that are kind of unfinished from the past, something that we haven't resolved, that hasn't quite wanted to come into our vision for wholeness just yet. It still needs some attention. It still needs maybe some belief work, better belief work, or some care and love that it didn't receive in the past from other people. So I think that's, it's a lot of what we have to do, because we are both human and divine. So there is this work, this inner work that involves dealing with our history and all the stored energies in our body, which is, where I think we hold all of our human experiences. So sometimes there are blocks, and we might want to just go straight up to ascension, but
Totally.
some parts are lagging behind and need more attention and need more care. And sometimes that can take some real diligent attention to care for those parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I'm hearing you say too, and I love that you brought in ascension, because I think that can happen for so many people. It's like, I just want to hang out in the light, and I'm feeling like there's this weight, like it's just hard to get into it. And so what I hear you speaking to and opening up is like, it's really important that we travel into the dark parts too. And the dark, like where there might be some shadow work or some deeper healing that needs addressing, or like opening up the blinds, like so the light can come in to these places that need that attention.
Yes. And I find that sometimes these parts need consistent attention, especially if the trauma was big in the past, or there's just something that we can't do for ourselves. I mean, all inner healing work is doing for ourselves what wasn't sort of given to us in the past, or what we wish was given to us in the past. And we all have this very human tendency to want to find it out there, like usually there's sort of a hole or something that's missing. That's how I experience my wound, is sort of like an energetic hole. And it's like there's these arms reaching, I've drawn it before. It's like these arms reaching out of this hole and saying, you give me what I am not giving myself. And so healing is that kind of emotional healing. It's quite a persistent practice, because our younger parts they want to get it from somebody else, from a lover, from a friend, from a parent, from a child. It's just it's just this very, very strong urge to receive it from the outside. So, I mean, all work is inner, and what we don't do inside, we seek outside. So that's the big work right there.
Totally. Just what you're talking about. That's when I personally had a huge transformation as an artist, of really feeling like I was blocked. And it wasn't until I did some really deep trauma work that everything opened up. But it was like, I didn't even know it was there. The way it was coming out, it was like, there's this art I want to create, and I can't create it. Like, I don't know what the gap is. And it was through doing work like you're talking about that it like opened up this door. Not only did it allow me to create at this next level, but it was just this beautiful healing journey that also opened up simultaneously.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about the shadow, is all of those parts that are still hurting in the basement, they actually do need to come along for the ascension journey. They do need to come along for the journey into wholeness, and we can't actually do that painting without them. They're very much needed, and I think that's why we get creatively blocked, is because there's usually some part that needs to come along in the journey, that needs to be included, and that does involve some maybe some painful work or uncomfortable work, but that's usually what a creative block is an emotional block. And I always see it as some part that's just not ready to come along into that journey for wholeness. So we've got to go back a little bit and spend a little bit of time with it to have it come on board, heal it, so that it can move into its gifts instead of stay in its wounds.
The medicine of your work is coming in already. I know we're about to step into your creative practice. I can sense that part right now. I know we get to be on this journey, get to be your guinea pig here, that I can feel that like there's this part that's like, oh yeah, I can see her. I'm super excited about what I'm creating, and I can feel this other part like, and I need attention. So I'm so excited about what we're going to do. And I, just to like start to get into the work that we're going to do together. And I do a lot of work with symbols, and I'm so excited to do this with you, because our community, we talk about this a lot, about the different symbols that are starting to come in. Some folks call it light codes. I started noticing light codes were coming into my painting and holding very specific energetic frequencies that we're activating and healing. Can you speak into the power of symbols and codes, in particular to our ascension process?
Yes. So the journey that I'm going to take you through today, it's called focusing psychotherapy, and it's a journaling practice that I've made more spiritual for my liking, just because that's for me. Focusing has many different flavors, and whoever practices it it's a very an open invitation in the community to make it your own and create your own modality out of it. So, some people have done eco-focusing or art therapy and focusing. Mine is around drawing symbols. And I've been doing this journaling work for over 10 years. When I was working full time as an art facilitator in healthcare, I used to go to my car every day at lunch, and I would close my eyes and I would just focus in my body for 10 minutes, and I would just see my inner imagery. And I would get these very sort of disparate, odd images in my mind, and I'd either describe them in words or I'd draw them. And I think your community would probably prefer to draw them, and that's what we're going to do today. And I just have been doing this for years. And usually especially when I'm going through a difficult period, I will focus every day, and I will listen to my inner symbols. And even if they don't make a ton of sense now, as you know, with visual symbols, they really hit home. Oftentimes they're very precognitive, so they'll really hit home later. So even if you don't necessarily understand what you get today, it's very important to record it, to not let it sort of just flit away, because it will tell you something down the line. So this process, it involves going very, very deeply into the body in a written journaling process. And then, so I'll take you through that. And I was showing you before the call, we're going to do like a really rough symbol in the written journal. And then I have started a little symbol dictionary. So that in a separate sketchbook, we'll do this together. These just look so simple, but to me, they're very meaningful. And usually they'll have a little saying like, this is, I will protect you, something that came through a focusing. So, I have these images that come, and then I just draw them very simply. And so if you have a symbol dictionary, you can put them in your paintings. You can put your symbols in your paintings, or you can just sometimes put up a symbol for the day that has healing energy for you. And that said, with the focusing process, typically focusing deals with emotional energies and human energies. And so just speaking into the ascension. So what might come first, and what often comes first in meditation and in a body focusing practice, is whatever hurts most. So you might end up getting 2 or 3 symbols. We'll probably just do one today, but you might end up getting 2 or 3 symbols until a healing symbol comes, and that might be what you would call your ascension symbol. So it's kind of good in therapeutic art practices to express your pain, and it might come in a symbol or words that are metaphorical or symbolic. But you don't want to leave it hanging there, because it leaves you with a bad feeling. It's like what people often say to me in counseling, like, I just feel so terrible for doing all this anger work in my journal. And I often say, well, just see if you can take it a little bit further and ask for a healing symbol, because you always want to end on a good note. Like, you always want to end on an uplift so that you can focus on that healing symbol. And you can ask your body for a healing symbol. If you're getting symbols from your pain, or symbol from the parts of you that are in pain, that's all good. That needs love and attention. But for the symbol dictionary, I'm making sure that, all of my symbols are uplifting for me. And of course, they don't mean anything to anybody but me. But for me, I'm making sure that, I might want to use this symbol dictionary as an oracle. When it's full, I might just open it up and see, and I've got a little meaning on the side. So that's, these feel very precious to me, these symbols, even though they might look very simple to somebody else.
Wow, that's so incredible. Okay, so you said a couple of things where I'm just like, just so lit up. And so I love how you said, listen to the symbols. And like, so that was just like, oh yeah. So we get so attached to our vision of like, and our brain, like, okay, this symbol, what does it mean? Like, what is it? Or like with light codes, what is this? How can I decode this? Like with my thinking mind. And so what I loved that you brought in, it's like listen to the frequency, listen, we're like listening to this other
Yes.
thing. And then I have
Yes.
a question for you. So with with the symbols that you have in your journal, in your dictionary, do those same symbols, like, are you at a point where like when you're going inward, the same symbols are coming up, like you're communicating with yourself? Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, they're starting to come. It's really fun because I've been going really deep into this practice since we've been all sheltering in place. And usually I'm very busy and I might spend 10, 15 minutes. I work full time. So, I might spend 10, 15 minutes in my focusing journal. But after I got through sort of this initial shock and fear that all of us have gone through, I had this directive from my body to do this for an hour a day. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to have time, but I've made time to do it. And so sometimes when we're waiting in the body for a symbol, you can be sitting there for 15, 20, 30, 45 minutes, just waiting for a symbol to emerge from the body. So it's very much a beautiful meditation practice. And one thing I should mention too, which we're not going to do today, but I've included a worksheet that
Cool.
you're going to post below. And one way to dive into this practice really quickly is to play theta music, THETA, so that's the kind of music that takes you into your subconscious faster. So you can just access that music on Inside app or on YouTube. Just look for theta music, and if you play that while you do this practice, it will also take you deeper into your body and deeper into the slower brain waves that you need to access to find these symbols and be with these symbols. So my symbols come fairly quickly, but sometimes when something's really unknown, you need to sit with it for quite a long time. So it's a nice form of mindfulness meditation because you're sitting with a body part that's asking for attention and you're just waiting. So it just gives you something to do rather than just, sitting and sort of it's like watching a feeling and waiting for a picture or waiting for words or waiting for a metaphor. And so you're waiting in anticipation. And so you can sit there for quite a while if you want to. And that's typical too in the beginning, waiting for those visual symbols.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, should we get started then?
Yeah.
It's a bit of an in-depth process. So I have provided a worksheet. It might seem a little bit cumbersome at first, but I can tell you it's a door in. There's all kinds of methods of focusing, and this is what I have sort of created that feels right for me. So if it feels okay, I'll lead everybody into the body, maybe through a meditation. If we could just close our eyes and then hopefully get into that theta state a little bit more before we dive in, because if you dive right into focusing right away, oftentimes you're in your beta mind and you're going to come up with a symbol that's maybe a little bit more superficial than necessary. So if that's okay with you, we could just close our eyes and go into our body. Okay, so I've changed this lead in a little bit just to reflect what feels good for me, but it's always good, I feel, to just take some long, deep breaths, maybe 2 or 3 long, deep breaths. And if you can make the out breath longer than the in breath, that takes you into the parasympathetic state, which is the rest and digest state. Because we really want to digest these energies in our body. Whatever is unfinished is like undigested energy. So and because I like to go quite transpersonal with my focusing sessions, I like to to ground into the seat that I'm sitting on. So I invite everybody to ground into whatever they're sitting on and sensing themselves in the room, perhaps feeling the air on their skin and the clothing on their skin, just feeling a sense of yourself in time and space. And as you breathe, however your body wants to breathe, you might sense that there's a grounding cord that's going down from your root chakra, down through the floors of your house, down into the crust of the earth, and then all the way down to the center of the earth, down to the crystalline core of Mother Gaia. And you can ask Mother Earth for whatever you might need for this focusing session today. And you might not know how to ask for it cognitively, but you might ask for symbols or colors or light, any kind of support that you would need to do your healing work today. And as you draw that support up from Mother Earth, all the way up the grounding cord, back into your body, you might also consider how open you would like your upper chakras to be. So sensing into your heart, your throat, your third eye, and your crown chakra. And just maybe opening the aperture of those chakras a little bit more than you normally would. And because this is an ascension community, you might know who you would like to invite into this focusing session. It might be your guides or your angels or your spirit team. Any sort of forces of good and forces of help that will help you to do your healing work today. And you also might ask for support in the form of a color of light or a symbol or love. Anything that feels right for you, you can bring that into your body now. And as you circulate the support from above and the support from below, all through your veins and your muscles and your organs, you might start to sense into your human body now. Sometimes it's good to wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers and just feel the periphery of your body. And as you draw all of the energy from the edges of your body into your center. And today you might want to focus on your human chakras, which are your first, second, and third chakras. Survival, creativity, sexuality, confidence in the third. This is usually the place where we store all of our human energies. Now that said, there might be something else that wants to be attended to, but just centering into those human emotional chakras that sort of contain all of our unfinished human experiences. And as you hold space within your body, I'm going to ask you to pick up your pen and find a page in your journal. Now, I sit with a journal on my lap, and when I'm going in for symbols, I close my eyes. So there's a lot of closed eye work in this journey. And the very first part of the journey, which you'll see on the worksheet, the very first part is called coming in. So it's just a touching into the body and doing a body scan and making a list of what feels like it might want your attention. So you might pick one thing, you might pick 2 or 3 things. And I'm just going to write down the places in my body that want my attention. And because I'm so practiced at focusing, usually it's just like, I want to go right there. So once you have something, 1 or 2 or 3 things that want your attention, 1A on the worksheet is just noticing what most wants your attention right now. And usually there'll be something that's louder and more activated than the others. So I'm just going to take a little note about what wants my attention right now, what most wants my attention. Okay, and once you have that, moving into part 2, it's making contact. And so we're going to start to describe it a little. And this can be quite creative, like it could be jiggly, jumpy, something, any kind of creative words that might describe this place that most wants your attention right now. So I'm just going to describe it a little, part 2. Is this a good pace for you, Alex, or do you need a little bit more time?
Oh, this is great.
Okay. I'm calling you Alex like you're my oldest, dearest friend, Alexis.
Oh, that's true.
So we've made contact with it. We've done a body scan. We've made contact, described it, given it a few words, and now is the deepening contact stage. So how we deepen contact with a part of our body that most wants our attention is we just settle down, sort of sit right next to it and just get really super curious about it. So this is the period, part 3, stage 3, where you could be sitting with this sensation for a long time if you so choose. So as you're deepening contact, in the worksheet, I'm just taking a peek here so I keep everybody on track. It's like keeping it company, and what you're keeping company is this very unclear edge. So it's kind of fuzzy usually when you're keeping it company. And any words that come as you're keeping it company, any images or descriptions that come as you're keeping it company, then this is where you would enter that into your journal. So you can sit there for a long time sitting on that unclear edge, which is the edge of our subconscious, the edge of our unconscious, and just being with that unclear edge. And this is where all intuition lives. It's just sitting there. So you might be working with a part, you might be working with a higher aspect of yourself, you might be working with just a sensation that you don't know anything about just yet. And so in stage 3, we start to sense into the body for symbols. So I've had a feeling, I wrote down a few words about, I've got this sort of upper chest activation happening. It's kind of jumbling, it is kind of jumpy. And now I'm just going to sit with that sensation and ask if it will give me a symbol. And so I'm just going to sit quietly for a while, and I'll let you sit quietly for a while, Alexis, and all of our participants can sit quietly just for a minute or two, and just see what comes in the form of. It might just come in the form of words, but oftentimes for artists it comes in a picture. So just be with that, whatever sensation most wants your attention. Okay. If you get something, do a rough sketch of it in your writing journal. And as you're drawing or after you finish drawing, there's a stage in part 3D in the worksheet that's called resonating the symbol with the body. So you might want to sense into whether the symbol feels right to your body. So looking at the symbol as you draw it, you can make more adjustments later in your symbol dictionary, but just getting a sense, asking your body, does this feel right? Does this feel resonant? And I'm getting a yes, but if it's not quite right, then oftentimes I'll draw 2 or 3 or 4 symbols in this stage and just make sure that I have something that feels just right to my body. Now the next stage is so fun because do you have just a sense of your symbol now, Alexis?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how we might look at a symbol or a part of our body is, like you said earlier, Alexis, that you would have an idea of what that meant. However, the symbol itself or the part of the body that's speaking also has an idea of what it means. So in section 3E, we're going to sense into its point of view. So if you want to just close your eyes and bring your symbol to mind. And so I have a sense, just me, Shelley, what this symbol means. Now I'm going to ask my symbol that I've just roughly sketched in my writing journal. For its point of view, I want it to give me a message. And I could even say, do you have a message for me? And you can wait with the symbol in your mind or your heart and just wait until it gives you something that seems a little surprising to your ordinary consciousness. And again, this might be a place in your focusing where you sit for quite a long period in meditation with your journal on your lap and your eyes closed. And you just might wait even quite a long time, not forcing it, asking this symbol what it would like to say to you from its point of view. Do you have something, Alexis, or do you need a bit more time? You've got some?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. You're practiced with your symbols. But it's really delicious to take a lot of time with this and go as deep as you want to go. And after the symbol has shared its point of view, you can write a little note about that, and that will probably be something that you'll put in your symbol dictionary later. And then you let the symbol know that you've heard it. So that's letting your body know, the symbolized portion of your body know, I've heard you. And usually that creates a felt shift inside, because there's always lots of different parts of our body that we don't pay attention to. So just taking a moment or two to let the symbol know that you've heard it. And then here I've put a little note on the worksheet before coming to a close that if the symbol feels disturbing or it's from a part that's been traumatized, then you'd want to maybe ask for an antidote or a healing symbol for that part that's hurting. So that's a really beautiful practice. So if something has come up that feels discordant or out of rhythm with your wholeness or painful, then it would be important to ask for an antidotal symbol or a healing symbol, or as Alexis would call it, an ascension symbol. So do you need to do that, Alexis, or do you have a fairly healing symbol?
Yeah, no, that symbol feels very healing.
Already? Yeah, okay. Yeah, mine too. So, like I said, you would come to a place where the symbol feels healing, and then you ask your body, this is the coming out stage, 4 is coming out, and so the body usually indicates a good stopping place. And so I might fully, like on Sunday, I fully intended to sit and focus for an hour, but at 45 minutes, my body said, I'm done. That's enough. I got what I need. And so you ask the body for a good stopping place. And so it's never just rote, like an hour, half an hour to 10 minutes. It's just your body will let you know. And you can ask your body if there's anything more that wants to come before you close the session. And you might ask then everybody who's participating, and Alexis and myself, if anything more wants to come. For me, I feel like I've received quite a clear message. But do write down whatever, if there's something more, and you can tell that part of you and that symbol that you'll be back, and those symbols will reoccur throughout the process of doing this day after day. And then usually there's a felt shift when you've paid attention to yourself. So just before you end your focusing session, it's always very nice to thank the part that's come and just really hold on to, really extend, if you can, that good healing feeling. And that's why I like to do the drawing and the coloring afterwards, because that's taking it to a different, more refined book, a dictionary. And so we'll do that now. But that's what I like to do, is just anchor that good feeling, that felt shift for paying deep attention to myself that comes. And so I'm just going to shift my camera just down as we chat. And I don't know if you want to talk and draw, Alexis, and share about your experience.
Yeah. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
I'm just going to go down here, if that's it. Just see if you can see. Can you see me okay?
Yeah. Is that your symbol?
No, I have to draw it. This is the other side. So I'm going to, yeah. So I'm going to start drawing it as you're talking, and yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that was profound. And let me see if I can even put words to it right now. Well, just kind of going back to what I was sharing before, that I've spent so many years doing like figurative pieces. I paint and draw women a lot. And I just did this big project, big oracle card project, where I painted 44 women in a year. And after that project, I really needed a break from doing figurative stuff. And so that's when I started shifting into light codes and patterns and things like that. And the figurative, the women are coming back. The muses, they want to be drawn again. The Great Mother wants to be, wants to show up through figurative stuff again. And I've been in the question of how do these light codes and this figurative work come together? And so right away when we started, and that's just been a general question, I didn't necessarily consciously bring that into this space, but I was curious, like, oh gosh, I've been doing so much symbol work. I'm feeling drawn to do, what if a figurative piece comes through when we're supposed to be drawing a symbol? And so when we started the process, I felt this, like in my belly, I felt like, it was heaviness. And then when I went closer to it, it was this imagery of being very, very pregnant. I'm not pregnant with a human child, but it was this imagery, this symbolism of being very, very ripe. And I'm in the process of doing this project. And so it was really cool is that I just went with it, and I drew a woman. She wanted to come through, but like simultaneously, like it wasn't just like, I'll just show you what it was. It was this woman and the symbol. So first it was the symbol that came through, but then I started drawing the symbol and the woman started coming in together, and it felt very organic. It wasn't like I'm going to draw the woman and then the symbol and the woman. It happened all at once. It was like I did a little work on the symbol, and then some of the woman came through. So this all became, it's like a symbol of embodiment of these light codes where,
yes.
so that feels like the symbol. And when I was asking for the deeper message, it was, first exactly what you're saying. It was like a little more conscious, like birth, movements, celebration. And then when I really asked the symbol what it was, it very clearly, the message was turning of the tides. And then it was this feeling of lightness. Like there's this frequency of just what we are all ushering in, this new earth, like this turning. And then my belly, it feels full but light, as opposed, like the celebration of incubating new life. So yeah, so that's what came through.
Beautiful, beautiful. So might you go ahead in a separate journal, and we don't have to even do it today, because I know this was a long process, but do you feel called to sort of really embellish that good feeling and perhaps anchor it in a journal or even in a painting if you wanted to? But that sounds very, very powerful, and you're obviously very practiced with your symbolic work. So that's beautiful. What a beautiful feeling.
Yeah, thank you. And it's funny, what you were talking about, like at the top of the call, it was like I was feeling this attention on my belly, and I can tell there was like some like resistance of like, I've done a lot of work in that area of my body. Like, okay, what's going to come up from this place? I'm willing to look at it. But it was really a celebration. And isn't that interesting that sometimes we're so afraid to look at our light and our power? And
yes. Oh, beautifully said. It's so true. It's so true. And sometimes I think we even can unconsciously sort of stay with lower energies for longer than we need to, because really on this earth plane, a lot of our fitting in happens when we take down our power, or it has in the past for me. So it's always a challenge for me to show up in my fullest light and my fullest beauty and keep that vibration going all the time. And so yeah, it's interesting. For me, what happened, and I'll just do just a quick little, but I saw these little wave patterns going through. So I'm gonna color this later, but I saw very coherent wave patterns, and so when the heart and head are coherent, they show up as wave patterns that fit together, like they fit together like that into one another. They're not discordant, and that's really interesting to me too, because I think it's worth mentioning that you've worked on your belly for a long time. For me, I've worked on some really heavy discordance in my heart for many, many, many years now. And so we can tend to feel like, oh, like you said, I've done so much work on this. This is like enough already. However, if you spend time with it every day, it just starts to lighten, it starts to free. And it's really that degree of loving that these parts need, so that we aren't an energetic hole. Like I see it as my wounds is like a hole in my aura, and that's got hands reaching out saying, give me what I'm not giving myself, right? So this is a form of giving this very deep love and attention to ourselves. And sometimes these really, really layers and layers and layers and layers, and who knows how far the activation in your belly has gone back. It might go back generations, it might go back lifetimes. This could be your soul's journey to heal your belly. So we have to have patience, and really spend time just sitting with these feelings and just letting them speak to us. So I'm so happy that was wonderful for you. That's great.
Thank you so much. And dear viewer, please jump in the Creative Empowerment Collective Facebook group and share with us what came through. Share if you feel moved, you can share your symbols and share what opened up for you on this journey. We're going to be in there to support you, to witness you, and yeah, just to be there with you. So please jump in there and check it out. And Shelley, thank you so much for this really powerful, I can just like feel it's going to keep working on us. Yeah, just so powerful. And I know you also have an incredible gift for our beautiful viewers as well.
Yes, I do. I have a very intimate walk through my own journals. It's a webinar, a 3-part webinar, where I take you through sort of some of my my lowest underbelly journals and my highest ascended journals. And I've always noticed in my expressive art, my intuitive art, that there's been, some discordance, and then I clear it, and then I can access my higher faculties, and then I get these beautiful visionary drawings and encouragement. And I just sort of share the process of what I've learned in my own journals, how I started out many years ago with the most simple journals, all the way to quite a refined way of intuitive drawing that I've developed over the years. So it was really fun to go through all my old journals and photograph them and talk about them and share how I have done my own healing work through expressive intuitive art.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And I just want to acknowledge your generosity and bravery for allowing us into that space and to witness your healing journey in that way, because it really does, it gives people so much permission to go there and to follow, follow a pathway. So I thank you so much for sharing that with our community.
Oh, so kind of you to say. Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay, I guess we'll wrap up, even though I'm hanging out much more. But Shelley, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. And just, I feel so grateful that I was able to share with your community a practice that's just been so precious to me, because I've always found that the body just doesn't lie. And I've been very confused in my life. I've had difficult relationships, and through this process, I've just learned, to trust my body, to trust my intuition. And so it's just felt very, very precious for me to be able to share this with your community.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just feel like this is the beginning, and we'll be inviting you onto our shows in the future as well. So thank you for being here. And dear viewer, thank you for being here. And like I said, please jump in the Facebook group and please check out the rest of the series. We've got some incredible guests and creative practices, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. ExpressiveArtWorkshops.com